Hello, welcome. I'm fixing a bug real fast, and then I'm gonna make a little bit of tea, cause it's about that time of the day. Oh man, that didn't, oh, it did. It worked, we caught it, and then we just did in return. There we go. If you wish to use a block of statements and return void and close these statements in those braces, please. Okay. I get to say fixed in the next beta to someone. Fixed a crash in quick procedures when piece of crash when using return in expression form in a quick procedure. Just a little quickie fixie. Got a couple others that are happening. You just finished Steven's sausage roll. Congratulations. Congratulations. That is an accomplishment. Where do I buy my tea? I did get it from various places. Some of it is mailed to me in the mail. Hoping the more public paid beta is due soon. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's still there's a lot of juggling happening, so it may take a little bit, but I'm working on it. All right, let me get the tea going. Okay. Am I gonna sing Raining Tacos for non-subs? Probably not. I'm probably never going to sing for non-subs. That is a sub-only privilege. So I'm afraid to start the Pomodoro. We should do, what if for next Super Stream Sunday or something like that, we do a Pomodoro stream? Like, wouldn't that be interesting? So we would like set a timer, and the timer goes for 20 minutes. And then after the 20 minutes is up, I'm not allowed to work anymore for like 10 minutes. And we set another timer, and that goes for 10 minutes. I actually kind of like this idea just to do it. Like, I'm not sure how it would go, but it's pretty strange to think about. I mean, we like what exactly is the right Pomodoro schedule varies based on who you talk to. So we would have to like figure out what's the right one to do. How is it already almost a week since we delivered value to the people? This has been crazy. Like, time has gone by really fast. Okay. We're going to start with the hot cinnamon spice, but we will move to some of the other tea runners' teas soon. Any interviews or talks coming up? Not that I know of. There will surely be some in the future, but none currently scheduled. And that's good because look, we want to deliver value to the people, and there's just not that much value here. I don't know how this happened. Actually, I do. It's because I was working on the Sokoban game. There is not enough value here to deliver to the people. Let's double check this, which I think we worked on stream last time, and see if there's anything we need to add. And if not, we can go to the next one. Okay, so we say, hey, we can use $ to bake values. Oh, right. Yeah, we went through all the... When we were doing this, I wasn't really sure that this... like memcopy seems like in some sense not a very beginner-friendly thing to use as an example. Because it seems very tweaky and systemy, but I don't want to rewrite all this now. But... But the reason why it seemed like a good example at the time is because it's the kind of thing where you would actually want to bake parameters and use them, right? So I think I'm convinced it's a good example. I think so. All right, so V1 was just this. V2 was this is baked. V3 was it's baked, but then we use that value here as well to avoid the slower chunker loop. We just crank out the statements. I don't know. I feel like the examples might be a little convoluted. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I still don't want to rewrite all this. I wish I knew. Like I could just make up totally toy examples of functions. Like here's a function called foo, and you can pass this argument. But like the memcopy makes it more real. It makes it like, oh, this is why this is something that you actually would want to do as opposed to a toy feature. So maybe it's still the best. Okay. So this is weird. I kind of feel like I need a segue. It feels like this comment is introducing this. So I actually want to put a new comment here saying like changing the subject. Toy tutorials, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is it's very easy to write a toy function that does nothing except use your feature, right? And that's actually good in some ways, right? Because it illustrates the feature and it doesn't distract people with, irrelevancies or whatever. But it doesn't help build knowledge about like what that feature is for and why it's good and how you would actually use it to try to do something useful. So I guess that's why I was feeling the mem copy back when we wrote this. It was like, okay, this is a thing. And in fact, we still have to write our own mem copy. One of these betas, I want to sub in a better mem copy, and it may be one of those. Okay. I'm just going to put a little segue sentence here. Like now let's look at a way to modify auto bakes to make them optional. Okay. And it's just, we're just, just to make it not seem like we're talking about scoping anymore. Let's change comment style. I don't know that really matters, but it's just like these are separate. This is a thought and this is a thought. Okay, so we have memcopy v4 that calls v3 if it's constant. Otherwise, we would do something there. Okay. Decisions made at the calling site, whether bytes is constant, and different versions of copy v4 are polymorphed. Let's figure it. The appropriate procedure is then called. The polymorphed procedure is then called. At the machine instruction level, there's no common code path. Okay. Okay. I'm pretty okay with that. I am pretty okay with that. I do feel like somehow there's something missing, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Is baked Boolean arg. I mention it. I mention it as a potential use case here. I didn't like write out a function for that. All right. I'm going to do some pull-ups for a second, and then we will go to polymorphic structs, and we'll fill this out. And we'll see what happens there. Ugh. Okay. Get the blood flowing. Pomodoro pull-ups. For if baked always seemed like the simplest example. I mean, the reason that's maybe not the best example is because even if the variable is not baked, data flow analysis in a compiler will probably notice that it doesn't change inside the body of the loop, and then lifting that outside of the loop is typically something that most compilers would do, right? So in that case, it's not really saving you much. Okay. So okay. So we want to talk about polymorphic structs. This is where the explanation is going to get a little bit strange. Just like procedures, struct declarations can have argument lists. I've got to go into the spiel about, however, since this is a statically typed programming language, Like, I need to explain that, like, look, all these parameters need to be resolved at compile time, because for you to use a struct, we have to know exactly what all the types are. So I want to say something like, these arguments can be used inside the body of the struct to determine types and values of the struct's members. But since this is a statically typed fully compiled programming language, all these decisions about the struct type must be made at compile time because are made at compile time because, see, this is a little bit it's a little bit hard to explain to someone, like someone who gets it, like you don't need to explain any of this. Someone who doesn't get it, you need to explain it, but it's like hard to explain because it's so basic, right? Sometimes you need to like get into the, does anyone, let me just finish typing out this description, and then I can ask if it doesn't make sense to anyone and what I could say to make it make more sense. All right, so this is a statically typed, fully compiled programming language. All these decisions about the struct's contents are made at compile time, because that is what allows the language to run programs to run efficiently. So at compile time, the compiler bakes these struct declarations down into structs that this is not a good explanation, this last sentence. Into structs that have no more parameters. Let's look at a simple example. Like, this is almost a point where maybe for the purpose of explaining to beginners, I regret choosing this syntax because it looks like a procedure call, right? But it happens at compile time. But it's a bit different because it happens at, because the process of supplying the arguments and creating a baked down version of holder happens completely at compile time. Thus, the arguments to holder must all be constant. Okay, in what way does this not make sense? Contents sounds like values of members. Where did I say contents? About the struct's members are made at compile time, because that is what allows programs to run efficiently. Take a type theory class. Yeah, well, that's not really necessary. What does the term bake mean? Well, we cover that in previous. Like the document right before this is all about bakes, but it basically means supplying values of these arguments at compile time and substituting these in, right? So, holder float 5 is converted into a struct that would be exactly the same as the following. Sum holder is a struct array 5 float, right? So I'll use an underscore here. So we're going to say other floats. Yeah, it's just a longer, let's just say others. Type of floats and type of others are not the same because all structs represent types distinct from each other, but they are the same size and have members laid out the same way, right? Like, again, this is weird because if you get it, you get it. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. So let's make a little release compiler real fast. Dang it. There we go. Okay. Type of floats is holder, t equals float 32, n equals 5. Type of others is sum holder, right? Let's go type of floats dot array, right? And that'll show, boom, same-o, same-o. So we're kind of illustrating what it means to bake down the struct arguments into the struct type, right? Let's call this other holder instead, because we're using the word other. Yeah. Is the term borrowed from computer graphics? I guess a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's not even a term we're being super formal about. It's just we needed to come up with a description. Like sometimes people say specialized, like this type is being specialized on these arguments. That has a lot of syllables and it sounds fancy. So, you know, just trying to keep it real. But who knows? Is from cooking. Well, it is also from cooking. That is correct. It is from cooking. What is size of floats? Size of floats is an error. The reason we say size of type of like this is to prevent an ambiguity, because types can be values, right? So if you let people say size of a value and they pass a type, a value of type, right? Then you don't know if they're asking for the size of the type represented by the value or the size of type, right? It'll make sense if you think about it. So we just disallow that. What are my opinions on unity? I think it would be pretty great if human beings could coordinate better and not fight each other over stupid shit as much. Is the general structure set in stone? Nothing is set in stone. The general internal structure is pretty far along. Syntax can change at any time. Syntax can change at will, in fact. Okay. Cool. Boom. Because these are just normal array types. Okay, so we've gone into some detail about what happens when you pass these arguments in. Easy, Sag. No, we also did a smallish game with this. We did a smallish game. Wait, what is it? Examples. So here's our smallish game. You know, I should just spend 1 hour giving the little aliens a better flight path. Have we made Snake? Somebody actually did make Snake. One of the people who was on the compiler team a while back made Snake. Is a metaprogram doing anything at runtime? No. It only exists at compile time. Yeah, we should rename it Sag Invaders. That is true. How many people on the team? Right now, for the compiler, there are 3 people working on it. Okay. Well, are we hoping this becomes widely adopted? Well, I am hoping that people use what works best for them, and I'm hoping that this language will work well for people. But the goal is not to like market a thing and get people to use it because we made it, right? There's too much of that in the world. So the goal is really just to make the best thing and to hope that that does something good, right? Okay. Okay, so in the above declaration of holder, we put $ markers on our types as would be consistent with the procedures we saw in 115 autobakes. However, because struct parameters are all supplied at compile time, there is no possibility that they are non-constant. So the $ is superfluous, and we can simply choose not to write it. Okay. Okay, so here we did that. And then as we saw before, a fully specified is just a normal type like any other type. Let's do some more things with a polymorphed holder. If a struct has not had its parameters filled, you can't use it to okay. Okay. If a struct has not, if a polymorphic, well, struct has not had its parameters filled, you can't use it to do anything really. Not a runtime value because this is a compile time statically typed language. The type of the entire entity, type of the entire thing must be known before any code is ever run. So attempting to use a struct that hasn't had all its parameters supplied, or a polymorphic procedure that hasn't had all its polymorphic parameters supplied is an error. Okay. Does this make sense to people? Does this make any sense? Should polymorphic struct literals be here somewhere? Do you mean polymorphing a struct and filling out the literal at the same time? What do you mean? Choose not to write it. Let's see. Choose. Ah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay. I mean, I did all this stuff down here that, see, this stuff that I did up here, I guess I forgot. My brain thinks the same as my brain. Oh, no, because these are, okay. Okay. I'm actually doing something different here. Okay. You know what? Why don't I lift this part up to the other thing? Because this is like a different line of thought. Okay. So what I'm saying here is, okay. Type of floats not equal to type of others because others is an instantiation of a different struct type. But different polymorphs of the same type will map to the same parameter taking struct will map to the same result type if the parameters match. Okay, this is a little bit of a segue, but we're going to do other floats. Calling this other floats is not good because we said others. So what about other floats named floats? Okay. Let's make another instantiation of holder, but let's make it look different from the declaration of floats above. We can do this by supplying the parameters in a different order. Okay. So we go named floats is this. It looks different from floats. Named floats is type of, and then this is named floats. I didn't replace them all. Okay. So now we have named floats, we assign it to floats, and all that is good. Okay. Named floats, boom. Okay. We actually probably want a print new line here between this big thing and this big thing. Yeah, there we go. So that's our 42 that we wanted to see. Very good. Is there some way to partially apply type arguments to polymorphic structs? Like you might bake function parameters? Yes, you can use bake directives on structs. That's going to be beyond the scope of this document that we're writing right now, but inside this document, we do allude to that, right? We say, hey, like I say, structs that have not had all their parameters filled, and yeah, but the only way that we've given to instantiate a struct is by supplying arguments, and it's an error not to supply all the arguments that way. But using bake directives, you could partially bake a struct, you could pass it to something else that partially bakes the rest of the struct, and so forth. You can't see the comments. It's just quiet. Well, Sag. I thought Twitch, when you log in, showed past comment history now. Does that not work consistently? Like, I feel like when I go to a channel, I see prior discussion. Nope. Okay. RIP. Maybe since the Twitch hack, they decided that that was a low security feature. Maybe it depends on if you're using the client, like the native client or the web page. Can I tell what people are using by their names? Not really. Not really. Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about default values. Not supplying all the values to a struct when you here's an example of what it looks like if you forgot the struct takes parameters. Not supplying all the parameters is also an error. Mistake 2, holder float, right? So people will see this, right? Uncomment this to C, error, not enough struct arguments. Okay. And we'll do a mistake 3. N equals 111. Missing argument T. Struct instantiation is missing argument T. I am not missing T, though. I am drinking lots of tea. Do I have a favorite game genre I like playing? I mean, I do like playing smart puzzle games. There just aren't that many of them. Do I have any thoughts on Mathematica? I honestly haven't ever used Mathematica much. I've used Wolfram Alpha a couple times really fast because you don't have to have it installed and you can do really quick stuff. But I never really was doing projects where I would heavily benefit from Mathematica that I knew of. Now that said, it might just be that if I used it, I would know. You know, maybe we should have Mathematica learning stream day where I just buy a Mathematica license and we just play around with it. I think that would be good. If you have a function that operates on the polymorphic holder, can you also specialize it for a fully or partially baked version of holder? You mean if it takes that argument you mean like, can I make different overloads of the function for different specializations? Yes, you can do that. You ordered the hot cinnamon spice tea. It's so good. I know. This tea is so good. I drink so much of it. I have all these other tea flavors, but I keep drinking hot cinnamon spice. It's like opium, except not. It's so good. But you have to be sure. I'll show people since they're asking. But here's the caveat. The kind in the little tea bags is not as good. You have to get the full-on opium kind. Which is this one. It's the Harney & Sons Hot Cinnamon Spice Tea. It's the best tea that I know. I buy it in big ass bags like this off Amazon. You want to drink it all day. It does have a lot of caffeine, probably. So like, yeah. But don't get the tea bags. Get the loose leaf, you know, full Havana red version or whatever. This stream is sponsored by Harney and Sons Hot Cinnamon Spice Tea. Okay. You got the sachets, which are kind of in between. I didn't know there was a sachet option. I accidentally ordered the tea bags once, and I was Sag. Sag. Okay, so now let's talk about the default values, which follows naturally on from this. Structs can provide default values for any of their arguments. Okay. Wait. As our prior holder example with no $sign. I saw that comment. I was like, exactly the same thing as what? For any of their arguments. Now that defaults are supplied, the previous mistakes are no longer mistakes. Non-mistake is whatever all right. Okay. Non-mistake is holder of 3 strings. Non-mistake 2 is holder of 3 float 32s. Non-mistake 3 is holder of 111 strings. Okay. Is there anything else I need to explain here, do you think? I'm glad you like The Witness. We worked hard to make that game for sure. We worked hard to make that game, and we are working hard on new games. Why do I get text messages from hotels now? That makes me sad. Like, what's wrong with just I booked a hotel room? Nobody has opinions about this. Okay. If you do braid 2, you miss a game like The Witness. I mean, that's part of it. So here's the thing. For braid or The Witness, like part of what I found was valuable about those designs was like the new thing that I was doing in the game, right? And so like to make a sequel for those games, I would have had to know what was a new thing that we can build on the previous thing, right? But add and come up with something that's as new as the original in some ways, or at least bigger, and like providing that same kind of value in a bigger, better way for the sequel. Otherwise, it's not a good sequel, right? And for both Braid and The Witness, I just didn't know what that was, especially Witness. Like, I had nothing left at the end of Witness. I was like, I did everything I want to do here as far as I can. I don't even know what a sequel would remotely be, right? So, yeah. I mean, I could envision games in the future where we do sequels. Like maybe the Sokoban game could have a sequel. Because the kind of value proposition that it gives is a little bit different, and I see what a sequel could be. I don't know if we'll do one because it's a massive, massive game, but I see a possibility for one. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the cash-in sequel. Was there also exhaustion where you didn't want to make The Witness anymore? I mean, a little bit, but here's the thing. Part of that is cured just by shipping the game, right? And so if when I finished The Witness, the biggest, most compelling ideas that I had were for Witness 2, I would have done it. But I really had no idea what Witness 2 would be. Like, literally none. It would just be like more puzzles with a different puzzle mechanic, but like in a different location. But like those aren't even the big things about the first game, right? Those are like the exact puzzle mechanics and the exact location are like contributing attributes of the first game, but like the core of the first game is something that I don't know how to do a version 2 of without just doing the same thing the second time, right? And nobody wants that. I've been working on a puzzle game for a year. Well, right on. Good luck. I hope it goes well. Is this the documentation final form? Well, this is one kind of documentation, right? This is the introduction to how to use the programming language that is distributed with the compiler. It is not a reference, right? A reference would be a different thing. This is a step-by-step explanation of what the features are and how to use them. Puzzle where you need to solve a checkerboard. Yeah, that would be the thing. We could release an April Fool's version of Witness 2 where it's like, here's a sliding tile puzzle. Here's a checkerboard puzzle. Here's like a cryptogram. Here's what are some other really bad puzzles from games that they put in when they're out of ideas? I don't know. Here's puzzles where there's a code and you just have to look on the back of this rock and it says what the code is. Yeah. We could certainly make a bad Witness too. That is for sure. Okay. The previous instantiations without enough with okay. This provides an interesting kind of forward compatibility. You can start writing your code using a struct that is non-polymorphic and instantiates it that way as non-mistake above. Then one day, if you decide it needs a parameter, then as long as you provide a default value for that parameter, as long as you provide a default value, you don't have to change the old code. It doesn't need to know it is handling a polymorphic struct. This is strictly better than the template syntax of languages like C++, which doesn't let you do this. Okay. Now we need to talk about I think what it means when you pass these two procedures. It is really interesting when I try to go through and explain all the little details like this, like how many little assumptions are baked in that need explanation. Because when you say this as a procedure argument, it means something different, actually. And maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe there's a way we can simplify that out um, so that it's simpler. I don't know. You need to know Shakespeare in Silent Hill 3. I never played Silent Hill 3, so I don't know. Is there literally a thing where you need to know Shakespeare to solve a puzzle? Finding keys in hidden chests to open the next door in an endless hallway. That would work. How hard will it be to port a C++ game engine? I don't think it'll be very hard. Like for the engine that we use for the Sokoban game, um, parts of that are ported from the witness engine, and it was pretty easy. My preference is just to copy all the code over and then rewrite it line by line, but you could compile things into C++ libraries and call out to those. I don't feel that's as clean, but you can do it either way. Force the player to learn vector calculus. It references Romeo and Juliet, King Lear, Macbeth, and 2 or so other works to understand the clues you need to know. Which clue is associated with which book? Are you serious? How did I never know about this? What year was Silent Hill 3? Was that like the early 2000s? (2003). I mean, I took the Shakespeare class in college, so we read most of those, so I would probably have a chance at it. But still, it's probably also not that well of a designed puzzle, right? So okay. I'm going to warm up some more tea water. And we're going to actually try, I could keep drinking hot cinnamon spice, but we're actually going to try a different flavor. So I'm going to go do some chin-ups, and then we'll try a different flavor and see what happens. And then we'll go on to procedure calls. But are there any last questions about this thing that we've been covering here? Okay, we're going to do a tea poll to bring value to the people. I am behind in drinking all my tea runners teas. So we're going to pick some flavors that I haven't tried. These are going to be all black teas. Wow, I actually don't have that many black teas. Most of these are other flavors, which explains why I didn't drink them. We're going to have the really good orange blossom honey, probably. All right. Tea poll for the tea flavor. Oh. I have to open a new page to my own site because Twitch grays out the buttons and they will not ever ungray. Manage poll. New poll. All right, 3 minutes. You will choose the flavor. Any tea with licorice? Not that I saw. What's my favorite tea? The Harney and Sons Hot Cinnamon Spice that we showed a while ago, which you probably weren't here for. Broadly speaking, I mean, I like a good Earl Grey. I like a good English breakfast. I like a good oolong tea, especially if I'm in Taiwan. Yeah. If I'm in Taiwan, I'm drinking oolong all day. Are you right that EXE has asked lookup table with names? No. So the whole syntax tree of your program, that's a lot of data, and it's a lot more useful at compile time than runtime. So your syntax tree of your whole program is not available at runtime. But what we do give you at runtime is the type table, because you often want to do that. You often want to do like data structure introspection. And so the type information gives you the ability to do that. Now, that said, you do have enough power in your meta program to export a syntax tree, and then you could just have that at runtime if you wanted. It's just we don't do that for you. You're drinking Tulsi right now? Tulsi teas, I think they're kind of gross tasting. I hate to say it. Just something, I don't like them for some reason. And it's very sad because I know people who run that company. But unless you mean just the herb. No love for greens. I have some greens. It's just I decided to do a black tea right now because it's still early enough to do that. More gross than coffee. I don't know. You just mean the herb, I see. I've never had straight Tulsi, the herb. So, I don't know. Make a puzzle about which tea is the best tea. That would be a good puzzle. What do you mean? All right, we're just about done with the poll. I'm going to click view results. Do I put milk in the tea? Sometimes. I don't have any right now. Wow, rigged. Rigged. Everybody wanted this one. Interesting. Why did people pick this one? I mean, I'm sure it's probably good. Well, I've had some before, and I kept it, so I know it's good. I'm just interested why that ran away so much. Best marketing. This tea is from India. The other teas are mostly from China. So you guys picked the tea from India. Do lemon drop? Well, you guys should have voted more times. You should have cheated in the election if you wanted lemon drop to win, because democracy has decreed that Blue Mountain Black won. Okay. We have finished this one off. It is done. It is done. You don't know a single person who didn't vote for Lemon Drop. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Hey, I got my peanut butter cups at a different grocery store and they're not melted. Mmm. So good. Okay. Struct has procedure parameters. I even already had this. Is it being called? No. Okay. We're going to call this. We're going to print it. Okay. What if we had an electoral college for this stream? How would that work? Like, what if we gerrymander the territories by like IP address? That would be pretty good. Okay. What we're going to say here is you could have a polymorphic procedure. What do I need to tell the people? Clearly, let's bring back Eric Holder, MD, here. Just so that we're talking about the same things. I don't want to forget about my tea here. It's still steeping. It's probably time soon to pour it. I don't know. Structs as procedure parameters. You can pass polymorphic. Okay. That's not really true. You can't pass polymorphic procedures. What do we say? It's very common. It's very common to write procedures that take any polymorph of a struct and operate on those generally, right? For example, do indices match? Holder is a holder. I0, I1. Let's just say int on these. Right? To bool, return holder.array I0 is equal to holder.array I1. This declaration of do indices match will work for any holder whose array elements can be compared via equal. Let's do this again. Let's do like floats and U8s. U8s is a holder of U8 7. We don't need to do floats again, right? I don't know. 4, 1, 2. Oh, this is, we could, okay. No. For 0 to floats.n, all right, let me pour the tea now. It's getting scary with how long it's been steeping. So first we try it with no honey, and then we consider putting some in, although I've eaten so much chocolate today that maybe that would be a bad idea. Let's see. All right, winner of Democracy 2021, Blue Mountain Black Tea. What's the deal with structs as procedure parameters? It's pretty good. It's got like a little bit of a smoky flavor. I dig it. Four more years. No. It's out. It's gone. We can't have 4 more years of Blue Mountain Black. Good tea. How long do I brew the tea for? Well, I don't know. It varies depending on the tea. About as long as you saw right there is pretty typical. 4 more years to flatten the curve. I mean, yeah, I guess so. Let me make sure I can definitely do this, but yeah. Okay. So we're going to assert that that's false, and we're going to assert that that's true. Array bounds check failed. Attempted index is 5. Oh no, because I did this. Dope. All right. Matching false, matching true. That's great. Now what? The way we wrote holder, if we want, we can just say holder. Whereas in a declaration on the stack, holder without parameters. Whereas in a declaration on the stack, that means give me the default values of the parameters. In a procedure header like this, it means any values of the parameters match this type. This means you can write procedures that look like their arguments are not polymorphic, which is convenient because you can add or remove parameters over time without having to modify these procedures as you might have to in a language like C++. Right? Like in C++, maybe they've fixed this, but like if I have a template struct that takes 2 template arguments, right, and I add a third one, don't I literally have to go to every function and add a third parameter? Should this work? Ooh, okay. It should work, but I kind of know why it's not working. If you want to email that as a bug, that's okay. Does n come from the declaration? Yeah, n comes from the declaration of holder. This all would probably make more sense in light of the previous document, which explained how all these constants get bound for functions, right? Kind of what I'm trying to say here is like, hey, it's the same as for functions. Yeah, like what's actually happening in that case is the outer function is supposed to, like, when you write a polymorphic function with other functions inside like that, the outer functions sort of steal the authority over those variables from the inner functions. And that's probably just not happening correctly for a return type for some reason. Like if you put the $T on the B argument, does that work? I would expect that would work because I'm pretty sure we have test coverage for that. But like the thing that's happening there is probably just not working for the return type. You can set default template values. I see. But if you didn't make a default, then you would have to go add it everywhere, right? No, with B colon $T. You know what I mean? The undeclared identifier B is weird too. I'm going to have to look at it, but yeah, I was just wondering if like if you put the $T as an argument type instead of a return type, if it dies or not. Without default, you have to add them manually everywhere. Yeah. So we'll say that here. Let's just say in other languages. Let's just not pick. If we get too picky about explaining the particular situations in other languages, it just takes us off the subject, right? So let's just do this. No reason to even go there. We could say do indices match to when the user calls this routine, the type of holder they pass, this type of whatever holder they pass in determines the type of holder in the previous version where we wrote holder tn, you have an easy way to refer to the t and n, but it's tedious to maintain that over time. So instead, you could dereference the struct to see the parameters. Print comma holder.t holder.n. I'm getting hungry again. Dang it, I've eaten so much chocolate today. Why am I still hungry? T is float 32 and N is 5 matching true. Okay. So that's great. Will it be possible to do this thing of n equals 3 thing is struct a n int? That's not really syntactically the right thing. I kind of see what you're saying there. But normally you would just have n be the parameter and you'd compose a inside the body of the struct or whatever, right? Or you could put a $sign in there. If you want people to be able to instantiate it with an array literal and have n change. Like, yeah, you can basically do already what you're saying. It just doesn't look exactly like what you typed. This works. Foo is still undeclared T. Really? Okay. Well, yeah, please mail it in. I'm gonna have to deal. Oh, you know what it is? Sorry, I think what happened is I just didn't totally notice that you were doing a struct on the outside and not a function, right? So if foo is a function that takes a function as an argument, all that stuff probably works. And if it's a struct, that's the problem. If it's a struct, we're just not correctly doing all the polymorph stealing. Probably. That's probably the real problem. Specifying the end part of types separately in procedure structs, etc. I mean, the thing is, if A is the parameter, then you specify A, right? If you want to specify N, you can do that. You can bake N, and then N is fixed to 3, and then anyone who wants to pass that parameter A, it suddenly has to be 3, right? So that is a thing. What if I bake this little pizza that I got instead of eating more chips and stuff? Let's take a look at that. Probably not that good of a pizza, but let's give it a try. Preheat oven to 425. Yeah, so basically I need to implement that same stealing mechanism for structs, which hopefully will not be annoying. It's weird, like, back when I was first implementing all this stuff, even though I knew it should mostly work the same as each other for structs and procedures, I kind of just did the approach of doing them separately because let's just see what happens and how it goes and if they need to be separate. And that just means sometimes there's things like this that didn't happen yet. Blaze it +5, indeed. Okay. Let's say hello. Probably mess that up. Oh yes, pointer to the array. Pointer to holder, yes. Pointer to type of, add that. There we go. Boom. Boom. Okay, what else do we need to say about this? Is it bad that when reading program text, you don't necessarily know whether an argument is a polymorphic type? Maybe. But this is a place where your editor or other IDE, other kind of IDE can highlight it to help you. In general, please don't get carried away making things polymorphic if they do not need to be, and this hopefully won't be a huge problem. Okay. Now what? We can fill out this limitation part. I mean, maybe it's done already. Yeah, it's done already. I feel like there's a lot to say about polymorphic structs, but by way of intro, what else? Those of you who are on the beta, of which I know there's at least one person in the chat, maybe two, what do we need to say? What do we need to tell people about polymorphic structs to help solve something they might be confused by when they're starting out? What can we say? Haven't been on the stream long enough to know what's been covered. I mean, it's really the basics. This isn't that long of a file right now. Well, 350 lines. We're just saying, hey, you can declare a struct with arguments, right? Here, we could sort of say, hey, you could put $signs on the types just like you can with procedures. Anyway, so we're saying, here's structs. They have polymorphic arguments. We start by putting the $sign because we covered that for procedures in the previous thing on the value. So then we're like, hey, you could you know, they map to the same type, and you need to supply all the types. And two procedures with the same parameters will map to the same type. And you can, of course, have procedures that take these as arguments, right? Okay. I could make a new thing that says, do you have to declare manually each procedure for every type that you want to pass? Manually each procedure for every type that you want to pass. I don't understand the question. Returning from a function polymorphic parameter is trivial. I think I need a more specific question there in order to be able to answer it. Okay. So here we say variables in the type slot. Here we go. Here we go. Variables in the type slot. We started this file with a declaration of holder that put the $sign in front of the variable name. Let's go this mode here. Then showed how to elide that $sign. But these are all, whoops. But so far, these have all been on the variable name. Which is natural for structs because, as we mentioned, all struct parameters are constant at compile time and constant signaled by whatever in procedures. Compile time, constant parameters. Okay, but just as with procedures, we can also put variables in the type slot of the parameter declarations. Okay, so I could go a thing acts as a $t, right? I don't even know. All right. In thing above, both x and t get baked at compile time when you instantiate the struct type. Let's do this. Z that's not a very pointer is not very good because constant pointers are they're a little bit rough, right? How about an array of $t? We could do that. That's not as clear. Let's start with this. Very clear. Let's just do this. Okay. The oven's heated. All right. All right. Pizza is in the oven. It says 10 to 15 minutes. Aren't I missing a struct keyword? Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I'm missing 2 struct keywords. In fact, I'm missing one here, and I am missing one there. Yeah, I know. It's a very wide gulf of time. It's like, yeah. Okay. Let's just make sure we still compile. Great. Variables in the type slot. Thing 1 is a thing of hello sailor. Thing 2 is a thing of main. Boom. Simsalabim. Now what? Let's make a thing here. Oh, I shouldn't say thing 1, thing 2, because this is thing 2. This is a bling. Okay, so bling 1 is a bling of a of a procedure returning void. Let's type def this. Simple procedure is a type from a returning void. Simple procedure dot main limitation structs as procedure parameters polymorphic structs. Let's put them in order. Polymorphic structs. Structs as procedure parameters. Limitation. Main. My main man. This helps make the following declaration more readable. Bling 1. Dang it. Oh, right. It means a let's do this. Let's put the arrow in, because that's valid, but it'll be confusing, so we could do that. There we go. Okay. Bling 1. Wait, what? Oh, because Bling doesn't have any members. I was like, wait. Okay, there we go. Look, we've got an array of procedures. How fine is that? Did I get rid of the void keyword? No, I did not. However, okay, void here is a little bit different than in C, right? In C, void means you don't, if you return void in C, it means you don't return anything, right? Here, if you return void, it means you're returning one argument of type void. And it just doesn't mean the same thing semantically. So we have that error message to catch, like if you're doing that out of habit from C, although it probably shouldn't have fired in this case. But it just means a different thing. Void versus unit. From category theory. I don't know what void means in category theory. If anything. Void means a nonsense function that can't return. Well, that's not what it means here or in C, right? Unit means returns only one thing, which is void. No, void in C++ means return 0 things. I mean, unless your one thing is the state of the program, right? But yeah, the error message was like, hey, this isn't C. Let's go back to it. Yeah, so we temporarily made this illegal. It might be time to get rid of this, actually. Right? So this was because we just had lots of arrow void in old code. And this has been in there for like at least a year. So why don't we delete it now? And then GG's. Unless, like, the question is, are beta users accidentally typing this? Why would a function not be able to return? I mean, like, so the idea behind the programming version of category theory is you can implement any program, right? And so some programs just run forever, right? So like you need to have a way to represent something that runs forever, or else there's some programs that you can't do. Accidentally typing what? Like arrow void? Like are people doing like f x int arrow void whatever, right? Because we have an error message in there to catch that, but this is not actually technically illegal. It just doesn't quite mean what people think it means. So we made it illegal for a while because you probably don't really want to do it. Literally never for you. Okay. Yeah, if you have not seen this error message, then it's not a problem. Would it be good to make it a warning now? We could demote it to a warning. Let's demote it to a warning. That way people's programs won't break if they absolutely need to do this. Procedure type ends in but is not call. Demoted the from an error to a warning. This is a transitional message and will be removed eventually, but we're leaving it in for a while in case it helps anyone transitioning from C. Okay, we're at the 10-minute mark for the pizza, I think. Sounds scary, better not use void. Oh, well, that's not the intent. I mean, although actually you don't really ever want to explicitly type void as a return type. It's just, it could happen, you know, if you polymorph some things to have void or whatever. In C++, if you return void, you return a value from the set of one items, which they call unit in category theory. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just not how C programmers think of it, but yeah, it's the same thing. I'm going to let it go a little bit more. The reason that in like C it really is nothing and not unit is sort of that you kind of can't talk about types in C the way you can talk about types in, you know, in one of these functional languages, right? So you kind of really literally cannot ever do anything with void, including compare it to things. So it really literally is nothing in C. I mean, you didn't even used to be able to do like decal type kinds of things, which now you can do in C++, right? Like you didn't even used to be able to ask what type is this variable. So like Void was literally just not anything. I'm glad you like The Witness. Great to hear. We worked hard on that game. It's always, seriously, it's always good to hear people like stuff. Semantic difference between math people and programmer people who define this one edge case slightly differently. Yeah. 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 Okay, everybody, it was not a frozen pizza. It was one of those pizzas that came from the store, packed like a frozen pizza, but not actually frozen. Doesn't look very good. We're going to try it. Maybe I should have ordered a deep dish like we do sometimes for $70. Yeah, it's not good. Domino's pizza would have been better. This stream is sponsored by Domino's Pizza. 14 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Don't laugh. We might be there soon. We might be there soon. Depending on what happens this year. What about void? Void here is, it's kind of like unit, right? Except it's like not really exactly the same. It is a type that has no values of that type. However, I don't know. It starts depending on what functional language you're talking about what the differences are. Like it doesn't really relate to other types in any way, for example. See you later. I like burnt pizza, by the way. I'm going to go to Austin this week. I'm going to make sure to have pizza and barbecue. Barbecue, man. Brisket shortages. Damn. Just get up in those helicopters and do some more feral hog hunting and then pretend that's brisket. Steak shortages. Okay. What is the deal? Let's talk about these shortages for a second. Because shortages are all in the news, right? And shortages of foreign goods, it's like, okay, I can see how that happens because all these ships are effed up. I don't understand why the ships are effed up because that doesn't make any sense. But if you assume that's true, then it makes sense why you can't import chips from Shenzhen or whatever. But like, how do you have a brisket shortage in the US? Like, what is going on there? They down projected how much they could grow. Oh, because they estimated the economy would be more impacted by COVID than it has been. They thought restaurants were closing. I see. So, of course, there's a lag time. Okay, I get it. I get you. This actually makes sense to me. What am I doing in Austin? Just hanging out. And eating barbecue and pizza. How did I come up with the basics of witness puzzles? I just tried to think of what would be good puzzles that would be interesting on their own and not too complicated, because if it's got a really complicated rule, it's like, that's not good. not too complicated, and would combine well with other puzzle types, right? So if you made two different puzzle types that were kind of similar and had one small difference from each other, that's not that good, because then if they combine, they're mostly redundant with each other and with other things, right? So you want kind of things that are different from each other that could combine. Brisket coin. Oh my God, I didn't even think about brisket coin. Hard to buy bread? Wow. Actually, I was in Safeway a couple days ago here in San Francisco, which is just your regular grocery store that a lot of people go to. And the bread shelves were kind of lacking. Like, there was a lot of conspicuously empty space. It's not like it was totally out of anything, but there was a lot of empty space. It was weird. Maybe I want to try the game Turing Complete on Steam. I don't know. I'm still writing documentation, but maybe. It seems weird to me that we're seeing all these shortages now, but maybe that's just the function of the economy, again, increasing, right? Like, I guess while the economy is decreasing, you have decreased demand. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Cheap overseas labor cannot enter Australia. Interesting. That makes sense that would. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, did the cheap overseas labor somehow leave at the end of, or at the start of COVID? I guess that might make sense, because you would have a lot of people wanting to go if they don't have citizenship or whatever, and they're like, maybe there's a big virus happening and travel's going to be shut down. You want to get back home. I don't know. I don't know. This pizza really isn't very good. You have canned stuff stocked up. I have a couple boxes of MREs. That I got from the beginning of COVID. And they're just there, in case I feel like eating some MREs sometime. Beans, rice, oats, lentils. I do have some, long-lasting food as well. Just, sitting around. Do the MREs taste good? The one that I tried was actually pretty good, because I had to try one to make sure they weren't bad. Um, I think I had like the beef taco MRE or something like that. I don't remember. It was last year, but it was good. The thing I was surprised by was there are so many little bags and pouches in the MRE. It's like kind of a logistical problem of how do you deal with all these things that were in the package. Yeah, MREs are supposed to last for many years, really. Like, they do have expiration dates, but they're supposed to be good way past those, right? Okay, so do we need to say other stuff? Big things of MSG. Oh. Yeah, exactly. Like if you actually need to eat the food, you don't care if it's old, as long as it's not like poisonous. You know, that was not a very good pizza. In part because it really didn't have very much sauce, and the number one thing you can do to make pizza good is put a lot of sauce on it. But pizza is just good, right? Broadly speaking, pizza is just good. So I'm happy that I had a pizza, even though it was not a very good pizza. It's weird that these other goods would be in shortage when like the ammo shortage is kind of over, right? So like if I want to go to like ammo.com and buy some AR ammo. Actually, let's check AK ammo in a minute, but like if I want some 5.56, like yeah, it's like $1 a round for 5.56, 70 cents. Like yeah. So 223 is probably cheaper than that. Let's check it. 223. And like ammo was in an incredible crunch, right? Wolf 48 cents a round, yeah. 9 mil. Oh, that's in a different section. Now 7.62 is probably really expensive because they passed this Russian ammo ban, right? Oh, it's actually not. Weird. I thought this would be in like shortage right now. Ammo coin. Can I name said pizza? I mean, I think it was a local pizza because it was just non-frozen from a store. Cornmeal crust pizza Vicolo, Vicolo, from Hayward, California. So it's local to the San Francisco Bay Area. Good luck getting 50 AE. I don't have anything that uses 50 AE, so you know. What are good sites for firearms? Don't ask me because you're not allowed to. Well, anywhere in the US, you're not allowed to really buy a firearm off a website. Like, if you buy a firearm off a website, it gets shipped to a local federally regulated dealer, at which point you do the transfer. So it's not like that's how it works. What's a good pistol to get? Depends what you want it for. What kind? You can arrange private deals legally. Yeah, but you still need to transfer. Like, somebody who is a federal firearm licensee needs to do the transfer. That's just how it is. Like, there's no such thing. Like, so the pistol I got was a private deal, but you have to go to a dealer to actually do the exchange. The only exceptions to that, I think, from the US, in the US, are like parent to child hereditary transfers or something like that. Private sale of long rifles is not regulated in most states. I never heard of that. If that's true, interesting, but I never heard of that one. Do you mean like 22 LR caliber weapons or what? You mean normal rifles? What's a normal rifle, though? Anything non-NFA. I mean, I don't know what qualifies as NFA, I guess. Okay. If it has a tax stamp required, you probably can't do private sale. Well, that's probably for sure. All right. So where are we at on this file? These are some notes that I had at the bottom. I don't remember what these were about. Let's see. This was some different example, right? Where we had a type tag. We could just do this example like a non-polymorphic base. Okay, we did this. We don't need to see the bake thing. So I think I just want to put this into a thing. And then maybe we're good here. You need your Tommies. Yeah, well, that's a thing. Maybe I should just move to Austin this week. And then I'd be living in a freedom state. Freedom state. Freedom state. Freedom state. New Hampshire is really just not a state that I've thought about very much. Which doesn't mean it's not a place that I should think about. It just means I haven't. It's the ANCAP state. I don't even know what that means. California seems to be accelerating. Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that the recall would at least be kind of close, because that would have been a signal to like the governing bodies here that like, hey, maybe you should change what you're doing, right? Because, you know, even if he didn't get voted out, like maybe there would be some pressure. But apparently it just wasn't remotely close at all, which means plenty of people here are fine with it, which means it's not going to change. So like, rip. Oh, anarcho-capitalism. Yeah, I thought the recall was going to be at least pretty close. And the fact that it wasn't, I'm just like, okay, this place isn't going to turn around anytime soon, you know? I'm implying the election is totally legitimate. I mean, why wouldn't it have been? Why wouldn't it have been? Wasn't there a replacement only for a year? Yeah, but I mean, in general, the message is just sort of like, well, we're not that mad about what's been going on, right? So if people aren't that mad about what's been going on, then you can expect that the next election will be similar. It will elect somebody similar to the current, right? Mark dies for his man on the street petitions down in San Diego. Really, like San Diego typically would have been considered more of a like a centrist area. I mean, not geographically, but in terms of inclinations. I wonder if that's not true anymore. Okay, so here we want to say if lots of procedures in your program are polymorphic, you pay for this in compile time and possibly also in understandability of the program. Polymorphism is powerful, but historically, when people start writing code that is over generic, it becomes hard to understand and modify, weirdly. San Diego tipped about 10 years ago. Weird. Okay. Weird. Sag. Easy Sag. All right. into polymorphic and non-polymorphic parts. Because the non-polymorphic parts are completely, and have a core set of functions of procedures. Let's try to operate on the non-polymorphic parts, which reduces the volume of code that is okay, so we do this. And holder 1 is a holder of string. Holder 2 is a holder of float 64. Float 32. U8, let's make it U8. Very different in size from string. The following set routine set is polymorphic in holder. It's invisible though, because in the type of because we didn't write the arguments as described above. Okay. Holder.instance equals value. Set holder 1 hello sailor. Set holder 2 42. Right. Let's print those. Okay. Great. Holder base, because there's an underscore. Now what? Type mismatch. Base.size. Oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's not equals S64. It's a size of X. Okay, boom. So we have this wrapper. And the type of, let's actually make it, because we want to make that obvious for this example, we'll write the argument $x, though we don't have to. All right. Wait. Oh no. Oh no, we hit a compiler bug. We hit a compiler bug, everybody. Sag. Very sag. Okay. We're going to put this... this stealthy polymorphic structs we just did in this one, so I think we don't need that one. Okay, so for now, we're going to put okay. Boom. We can also call routines on these that affect only holder, that require only okay. Oh, I didn't call this, which would be helpful. We are assigning the wrong thing. Base.type equals x. We store x as a runtime value so that it can be queried by someone who doesn't know the polymorphic type. This takes memory, but lets us do runtime dynamic things. All right. Boom. Type string, type U8. Since we are storing the type in a runtime readable way on holder base, we can even do dynamic dispatch kinds stuff. Inspect. Do I think nominal typing is useful? What does nominal typing mean? I don't really know what nominal typing means. Hodler. Hodler, Bitcoin hodler. Okay. Whoops, I put my parens in the wrong place. Sort casting to these types, and we go. Wonderful. Okay. You can tell that print type and size and holder base are not polymorphic because you can assign them to runtime variables. A1 is print type and size, A2 is holder base. But you can't do this with set for reasons discussed in 100 polymorphic procedures. Whoops. Not holder base, inspect. There we go. There we go. I think we might be done with this how-to for now. I'm sure you all have been following along very, 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 very closely. So I wonder if anyone has questions about these. Nominal typing is a traditional system where types are equal or compatible if they have the same name. No, yeah, we don't do that here. We don't do either of those things, actually. Did I write down this compiler bug? Yes. Okay. We're just going to delete that one. Boom. That means we're most of the way through the how-tos that I had wanted to write. We're also starting to have values to deliver to the people. So maybe we do the compiler bug next. What happens if you miscast run? Yeah, if you cast that to the wrong thing, then you're reading memory that is not the correct type. Is there a good reason why the array bounds checking uses its own panic instead of an assert, which could be overridable? Let me think about that. I'm not sure. You know, I would say that it's probably just that I implemented it that way in the beginning without thinking too hard about it. I might have and decided that there was some reason not to use assert, but I don't remember what that would have been, if there is such a reason. Can you declare multi-dimensional arrays? No, there are no multi-dimensional arrays in the whole programming language. If you want to, you can define a struct type that takes dimension variables and builds an array with, that multiplies those variables together. You would like to not debug break in your case. So you have some case where you don't want to turn them off, but you also don't want to debug break. Because you could just turn them off, right? I can definitely think about that. I can think about if there's a reason to actually have it be separate or should it call assert. In some sense, it's probably easier to call assert. I mean, we could even call the same array bounds check fail in runtime support. It's just that that could call assert instead. Making a DLL, you'd like the host program to handle the error, but you still want the error. I see. Yes. Right. So you want people to be able to push an assert handler before they call into the DLL. And just have that do things. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that should probably be something. If you want to send that email in as a feature request, it seems like probably something we should do. That said, I kind of feel like what we're really doing these days is band-aiding over the fact that operating systems don't give us a way to run untrusted code, right? But given that that's the situation, maybe this is the way to handle it. So nobody has anything that they would like to see explained about this. I do feel like there are gaps in the explanation. I do not feel like I know exactly what they are. We did do some explaining, and we will ship these explanations to the people, and maybe the people will let us know. They will certainly have more than they had previously. I do sort of feel like you almost want to go into bigger examples of how to actually use this stuff, because again, this is all like toy functions, right? So you maybe really want to go into here's how the hash table works or whatever. Hash table is a polymorphic type, and here's how you use it, and that kind of thing. How even does a hash table work, though? How even does airplane food work? Looks similar to templates in C++. Same basic idea. You changed holder base to inspect in the code, but not the comment. Let's see. Holder base. Oh, yes. Thank you. Good catch. Good catch. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we don't need to go into hash tables specifically. I think this is maybe done for now. Who prefer grits tables? You might, if you like grits, you might have to use a different programming language. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Quinoa tables, that's fine. But, I mean, corned beef hash is way better than, like, grits. No poly struct. Oh, you wanted to talk. So what do you mean by that exactly? Let's see if there's an example for polymorphic struct literals. What kind of thing do you mean? Because I remember you mentioning this earlier, and I was like, hmm. Do you mean like where I fill out the parameter while designating the literal? You have no idea. Okay. Because I don't like, you can't actually have the variables inside the literal because the literal is a runtime construct. If it shouldn't be used, then not being used should be in documentation. But I think we've already well covered the fact that these dollar signs just sort of live in the headers of things. Like that was discussed very much a file or two ago. So I hope people get that by now. Like x equals holder of $n $t of 3 comma float. I mean, you could do that, but why? Why would you do that? And you wouldn't put the $n $t. You would just put the 3 comma float. You have no idea what you're doing. Well, good. Join the club. Okay, I feel like I want to look at this sad compiler error, but first let us run the tests and maybe check in. Much progress on how to files. Bam, bitty, bam, bam. In your introductory CSE course, you were taught redundancy was wrong. How is putting \n redundancy? You mean because I'm calling... I don't even understand... I don't even understand the claim. Spatial vectors could be polystructs, but how would you declare a north vector 3 float? So spatial vectors could be polystructs, meaning in the number of dimensions or in the type of the dimension value, or both. Could be both. I personally don't use them that way, but you could. How would you declare a north vector 3 float? I mean, oh, I see. The north part is the struct literal part. I mean, okay, let's do that real fast. Like, okay. We were going to do the compiler bug, but let's not do that. So you could do vector is a struct of n is an int and t is a type, right? And coords is n of t, right? It's basically the same as our holder thing was. So first of all, let's just say v is vector 3 float. Let's make sure this works. Print v is whatever. Import basic, right? So great. So there we go. Right? We can obviously do this for w is vector of 6 u8s just to show that it works. Boom. Okay. At least the nice thing about this is if you did template this up, you could just do this and use that all the time, right? So, but I don't do this, right? I'm not writing boost. Anyway, so what you're saying is if you wanted to define a north literal, you could say, for example, oh, it's going to be a little bit too much dot here. Like what, for me, x is east, y is north, and z is up, right? So you would do that. So, you know, do you want to do that? I don't know, but you could. Because you didn't like GLM, you literally just wrote your own vec3 and mate4 functions and you tested them and they worked fine. Yeah, I always, when I have done, for the history of my entire game development, I have used hard-coded vector3 matrix 4 stuff, and I'm happy with it. Like, I think if you're making video games, that's totally fine. And I don't know why you'd want to go more generic than that. I don't know what GLM is actually. Is that some GNU linear matrix algebra thing? I think if you are doing general n-dimensional things, there's more of a temptation to do that. You know, but do you really want to? I don't know. Reproduces GLSL in C++ for vector math. Interesting. Okay. But wait, is it like super templated and stuff? I see. Yeah. That's probably why I don't know what it is, because I stay away from template-y things. So yeah, in our game, we don't do this, right? I just have a vector3. But you could do, like, clearly we've just shown that you can do that just fine. It's just not the way I prefer to do it. Math is not hard. Yeah, well, can types be inferred for polymorphic structure literals? North vector 3 colon. No, the type inference doesn't go that way. Oh, wait, hold on. You said vector 3. Do you mean that type def of vector 3 that I deleted? Or do you just mean vector without arguments? But we did do a whole how-to on how type inference works as well. For types, not the const generics. I still don't understand the question then. Like north vector 3 of dot dot dot. But what is vector 3 of dot dot dot, right? We don't have a vector 3 here. Unless you mean the one that I had that I deleted. Vector dot dot dot. No, we do not do that. It's very intentional that the compiler doesn't try to make big leaps to try to figure out your types. Yeah, so you mean basically just this, right? Like some kind of this. Yeah, we don't do that. Very explicitly, we don't do that. It feels late, but it's only 7:30 p.m. Okay. Oh, yeah. We were going to do this compiler bug. Let me get the holder declaration. Get all this stuff. "10:30 on the East Coast. It's not even bedtime, dude. It's not even biphasic bedtime. Is that like second breakfast? Is biphasic sleep for hobbits who want second breakfast? That's my question. Okay. So this was freaking out. Undeclared identifier base. Ace of base. That is happening because, okay. So this won't happen probably if these declarationinos don't happen. Yeah. So those are getting scheduled inside a polymorphic struct. Okay, minimal repro. We can get rid of these, right? Let's just make our repro as happy as can be. There we go. All right. I'm going to go debug build. Debuge. Make sure it happens with no jobs. Still happens. All right. Are we not running the right thing? Oh, we are, but we're not breaking at that error. Undeclared identifier. Problem is, it's going to be a little bit annoying to trace this back to who's causing it, but yeah. The pizza was consumed, except a little bit of the extra crust I just kind of got rid of, right? $11:38 in Tokyo. How is Tokyo right now? I was just talking to a friend yesterday. I was like, I really liked going to Tokyo the couple times I've been there. I went to Don's La Nature restaurant. Don's de la Nature. Best steak restaurant I've ever been to in the world. And I don't even like raw steak, like people think is good. But Don's was so good. Biphasic sleep is when you wake up in the middle of the night, you get up and do something productive. I agree that that's the strat, actually. That doesn't happen to me very often, but when it does, yeah, why lay there and try to get to sleep for like an hour, right? Why not just like do some things? Tokyo does have very good food. Like, I don't think I ever went to a bad restaurant in Tokyo. I'm sure you probably could find them, but like every place that we just randomly went into was at least fine. And at the top end was very, very, very good. Seoul had great food. That's true. Seoul has good food as well. Takes a while to find a bad one. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't remember my neighborhoods now. I didn't play enough Jet Set Radio. Like, is it around Shinjuku where all the strip clubs are? Like, I had a hotel over there, and like, it seemed like the kind of place where there would be some bad restaurants. Roppongi is the strip club area? Really? No. I remember walking around Roppongi and it was just like Shinjuku also. All right. Anyway. Good ramen places, I see. Anyway, I hope I get to go back there at some point. Right now probably is not the right time. Okay, so we hit our undeclared identifier, and this is going to be a little bit removed from the place where it is in. So I need to look at the identifier. We need to look at what it's flattened within. In this struct, which should be polymorphic, right? We could actually break during the flatten process, but holder arguments block. Member 0. Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I see maybe what the mistake is. Let us get closer to the thing. And see what happens. Lots of awesome Jamaican steakhouses in the US now. Well, should keep an eye out for that. Okay. So we do flatten. We do push and flatten. We do ensure flattened. Aha, here. Okay, this check is incorrect. In some cases. So we want to look for is polymorphic struct. Struct is polymorphic. Okay. Let's go to definition on that. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's just disable this for a minute. So this is in line 855 of flatten. We'll remember that. So define type def and flat. Yeah, so, okay. So that's all. That's all to fix this compiler buge. GG's. Okay, so now we can go back to our how-to and change it. We should be able to do this. The following set is polymorphic in the type of holder. Oh, because I'm compiling with release, which we haven't rebuilt. I was like, no, don't tell me there's another problem. No, it'll work. It'll work. It'll work. There we go. There we go. All right. Value. Fixed another problem where member assignments inside polymorphic structs. Fixed a member assignments inside polymorphic structs would cause incorrect errors when those struct types were arguments were inside polymorphic procedure declarations. Something like that. Values. 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 Yeah, I mean, Brazilian steakhouses, like, at least in the US, I don't know about in Brazil, but in the US, if you go to a Brazilian steakhouse, the food is probably not actually very good there because they sort of get their notoriety from being a Brazilian steakhouse where they bring the stuff around and all that, right? I don't think I've ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse in the US where I was like, oh, this is delicious. Swanky pizza place. That sounds good. I would do that. Like a la carte pizza. What's it called? What's the pizza place called? What's the best Southern barbecue place in SF? Southern barbecue? You know, I don't do that much barbecue in the Bay Area, so I honestly could not tell you. I'm sure that it's probably in Oakland somewhere, right? Whatever is the best, but I do barbecue when I go to Texas, you know. I don't do it here. DeLuca, okay. North Beach Pizza, you mean? Did they change owners? I used to go to North Beach Pizza way back in the day. DeLuca's Pizza. This doesn't look fancy. Is it a different place? DeLuca Dental Care. This is really looking for somewhere in San Francisco, which is where I'm searching from. It's in South Lake, Texas. DeLuca. Okay, that looks like a fancy place. Let's look at where this is exactly. Yeah, see, last year when I almost decided to move to Texas, I got some crappy hotel like over here next to Great America. Is that there? No, where's Great America? Hold on, wait, that's the airport. Great America is like, oh, Six Flags, sorry. I got a crappy hotel over here because it seemed like it was in the middle of a lot of things, but in reality, this just kind of sucks right here. And I never even went to Fort Worth, Sag. But I could have gone there. I'll put a little star there and say that I should go and get pizza. I now officially want to go. Fort Worth is pretty pog. Well, I sort of heard that maybe North Fort Worth is nice, if I'm remembering that right, but the rest of it isn't. Like, I don't actually know. I didn't make it over there at all. I mostly was around Dallas. Where did I go? I went around Dallas. I went around up here some. I went to McKinney. I kind of was around here a fair bit, north of Dallas. I went on a date up here somewhere in like, where's the, is it, I'm trying to remember. There's like some really weird like King Arthur themed housing project. King Arthur Boulevard, The Colony, Texas. Is it way over there? This is it's very hokey, but like in a funny way. Um, so all the street names have like King Arthur names, but then if you go down, you can see there's actual like castle ramparts sometimes and stuff. I don't remember where they are. Lady of the Lake Boulevard. Texas is suburban hell. I don't know. I mean, suburban neighborhoods like this are not bad if you have places to like go. I'm trying to remember. There was like a pizza place and a bar and stuff somewhere here. Oh, right here. So like I ate somewhere at one of these places. And then like somewhere as you go, I don't remember. Let's see if we can go down and relive the moment. How do you street view? I want to do street view, please. I thought I used to be able to just zoom all the way in. Yeah, all the horrible suburban lack of crime and garbage. Oh wait, street view? There we go. So I'm trying to remember. This isn't it, but there's some place where there's like some big like castle rampart wall kind of situation. Let's go down Lady of the Lake Boulevard. But like all these houses, I actually didn't see how much they cost, but like way cheaper than California. Like you can't even get this in San Francisco anywhere. These are probably expensive because they're like, right. Oh, whoops, I went the wrong. I went the wrong way somehow. Maybe we go this way. We're just scooting around the Colony, Texas. That's all. It's like we're playing GeoGuessr, but we already know where we are. I don't remember. Anyway, there's one of these places where you drive up and like it's got like literally castle walls and stuff. It's pretty amusing. GeoKnower. Yeah, Ocean Cleanup Project is super cool. It's been going for some years and yeah, you know, I lived in Austin for 2 years and I never went to Richard Garriott's thing. I don't know why. I just never did. Was there a deterrent to moving? I just didn't like the area very much. Like the problem with the area north of Dallas is it really is like, the problem isn't the actual suburban neighborhoods like we were just saying. The problem is what's between them, which is literally nothing but freeways and like gas stations. It's kind of bleak. Like you either have to live at home, like I don't know what, there's just like not that much in the way of interesting places to go. Let's see. Richard Garriott House, Austin. Yeah, so he's got, with the Ultima money, he like, I think he sold this though, right? It's been torn down. Oh no. So that's what he used to have, I guess. Oh wait, this is Britannia Manor 3. I didn't know he was on 3. When is this photo from? September 2014. That looks less like a weird village than this one. What do I think of places like Amsterdam? I have not really been to Amsterdam. I have been to whatever the one other city in the Netherlands is. Dancing is huge in Dallas, Fort Worth. Really? What kind? Oh, I guess that is. No, maybe that's the tower we were. No, it looks different. Oh, maybe that's the same tower, actually. So maybe this is the most recent one. Ever been to Denmark? Yes, a couple times. Two-stepping. I don't even know exactly what two-stepping is. Is he still doing game stuff lately? What's he got going on? Dude, look at that photo. Tabula Rasa was the last you heard of. I thought Tabula Rasa kind of fizzled, right? A long time ago. On the Austin Coffee House show. Most game designers really just suck. Boy. I agree, but, you know, have fun saying that on Twitter. Shroud of the oh wait, is Shroud of the Avatar after Tabula Rasa? Yes. No, I knew about Shroud of the Avatar. We backed that on Kickstarter and I played it on stream a little bit. So I guess the question is, what is he doing after that? Do I go here or do I go Wikipedia? Portalarium. Shroud the Avatar. All right, well, this is not... documentary series, right? I didn't know he programmed Auto Duel. Dude. Yeah, I guess nothing announced since then. Maybe he's just chilling. All right. Well, everybody, it might be time to end the stream. We did some documentation. We fixed 2 bugs as value for the people. Yeah, I kind of want to try some video games tonight. Unfortunately, they are not public. So I kind of can't do them on stream. Leak them? No, we can't leak them. Oh, Turing Complete. Let's see. What is Turing Complete? It sounds like a programming game. Turing Complete. October 2. This is a brand new programming game. In, out. Not. Oh, God. Really? I don't know if I can do this. Is this good? Because, like, I've just done things like this, you know? It's Nanda Tetris. Is it literally Nanda Tetris? But in a more of a playable game form? I see. Is this the dude who does Nanda Tetris? And he's like just making a game version of it? Because that's cool. Yeah, cool. I don't want to play it right now, but I'm glad that this exists, and I think a lot of people would get a lot out of it. Yeah, sometimes they do seem like work a lot. All right, I'm going to sign off, everybody. Thank you very much for coming by, and we will do more programming later on in the future, although probably not tomorrow because I'm traveling. Maybe late at night tomorrow. We'll see. Thank you, everybody. See you later on. Stream from Texas, probably at some point, yeah.